the bass baritone section too, then I'll reach out to Ellie of. But I also do now know some additional folks through. I also now know some additional folks through Perfect Harmony course that I might be able to reach out to as well.
Yeah, I mean, if Andrew comes, he's pretty good, but still.
Well, if we have Andrew, Mark, and if Alexander, who's a baritone as well, joins, I think that's going to be at least enough numbers for that section.
And if it's Andy and me and George and Judy.
I've noticed that a little bit.
She does. I don't know if she reads the music or not.
I don't think she does.
But even when she's singing her own thing, it's not bad harmony. So, you know, I used to try to lean over and get her to sing on what was written on the page, but that's pointless. But she has. So.
That I have noticed all of the things that you just mentioned.
Yeah. But I think though, I've never heard her say anything that's it's not on the page, but it's not out of tune.
Yeah, that's what I've noticed as well.
So I'm giving up trying because I really she's had some tough stuff.
Yeah,
And
and there may be moments in the future if we end up seeing anything that's a little bit more complex, where it might be worth really taking the time to work through the part. But
Judy's a very good soul.
yes, she is.
Many years ago, probably over 10 years, maybe she had a brain tumor, and she's recovered it from that really well. It's just that I think it killed her. And so she's just sort of out there, and I love her.
Oh yeah. And then we may be able to get a couple of other folks to be filling out our soprano and alto sections too.
It's interesting that we have more lower voices now than high voices.
So, this is not fully public, but also not fully a secret, that we're going to be loosening some of our exhibition and masking requirements in August.
Oh, well, that would be pretty much like a rehearsal class.
So it's that may have an impact on who we're going to be having involved.
It would be lovely to see some more faces.
Absolutely.
Because some of us are going to each other.
Well, and there's a couple of people that I have like in the pipeline who are not yet. Like for example, I think that Leslie might be interested once she finishes her presidency.
Oh yeah, well she's definitely not yet.
Yeah. So but there's a couple of not at this time.
Leslie's very well.
I think that she'll be a wonderful asset to the choir once she has the bandwidth.
Yeah. But you know, there are some people I know that are young enough to really come in and give it full voice, but they've got overwhelming jobs.
Yep.
Yeah, so.
Well, and look again, we're getting Andy involved, hopefully getting Alexander involved. Like, there's a couple of young people who I'm noticing, but also I think that she will. She had a lot going on recently with moving her mother across the country. I saw her at Pride. She was at Pride Shabbat, and I think that she noticed how much choir folks missed her.
Well, that's good.
So she's on my list of folks to make sure.
She's a Jen Slaza.
And I have to reach out and see what's going on in her life right now too. But we may be able to get Jackie Foreman back too.
Yes. Jackie is all enthusiasm, not on key. Love her.
Gotcha.
But she is. She's a little off this, but she's better. must be some other new members that might show up.
Yeah. I want to do an all call.
Yeah.
So that's definitely like let the congregation know. Come August, like even if you haven't been in choir before, like come give it a try.
Yeah, come give it a try, and the people who've been here for a long time would love to have it.
Yep.
Not so that they don't feel like it's this exclusive thing that it should, only be people that were already there.
Right. And I think that there's it's two rounds of recruitment, right? Like I think that there's the pre-high holiday round and there's the post-high holiday round. Because like we'll do the high holidays and then we'll be singing, starting our regular Shabbat cycle of singing in November. So like even if we don't catch you for the high holidays, like but you're still interested, like talk with us about joining up in November and into the following year.
Yeah, but I would push the next one to be a holiday.
Absolutely.
But that's what it means that they didn't see it. And yeah.
And I'm thinking about. I'm curious what you think about trying to push for having the choir in the morning as well this year. We didn't do it.
Huh?
Well, that was when we did my first year here, and then we stopped, of course, with COVID. And when we came back the first year, it seemed like pushing for the morning was going to be a little bit too much. There was a number of reasons. There was a
Wonder
number
how
of
loud
reasons
the
why it made
music
sense
from the
to
park is going to
last
be.
year, both COVID-wise and also people hadn't
Maybe
sung
a lot of
together in
fun.
a while, and like there was a whole bunch of reasons. But this year, I'm wondering if it might be worth trying.
It's worth asking. I don't even know how.
We heard that food trucks, so.
No, to actually sing the morning services in addition to the evening services.
We used to do it, but it's.
I need to grab something.
I'll see what Mike thinks.
I didn't
He's got a
plan
good
ahead.
perspective
Hello,
on these
Shabbat.
things.
Nicole, so nice to meet you. My wife, Tracy Burton. And I was very interested.
Hi, Joanna. Oh, hi.
Hello, Shabbat Shalom.
Okay, well. Yeah, someplace.
I noticed some members of your family, thank you very much. San Diego Padres, that's or no?
no, I ended up not doing that.
That, right.
Sure.
Right. Hi there, how are you? That's okay.
Shabbat Shalom.
Whatever. Yeah, no, I thought it was great. I mean, so do I. I'd be interested to compare notes. Yeah. So, I remember the Sandy Cortex when we first that 1965 World Series game. I've only had. Right. Then when he lost, the first time out, he probably lost with your cast. But he did win 2 games in that series. Dodgers. I know. Well, I know. My daughter-in-law's from Detroit. So her name is Lisa. She's on video. Yeah. In that area. Yeah, right. Yeah. Exactly. Is she? That's cool. So Tracy was asking me a great question a few minutes ago. And it's how many, well, I'll ask it this way. How many full-time teachers
You're right.
Niles, you need an escort?
sex? would call them Sundays. That's great.
And then a bunch of volunteers.
Right, that's a very good point. Right.
That's the best problem ever, more chairs.
Right.
There you go, Hannah.
Shabbat Shalom, nice to be same here. How are you doing?
Okay, how about you?
Good.
Shabbat shalom.
Pardon?
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Yeah.
Very good. There is going to be a big deal. Big deal.
I know. What? I do. One moment at about 11:30, as you're dozing off, there it is. Yeah, don't call.
Thank God, good.
Shabbat Shalom. Welcome to Shabbat Outdoors in this lovely weather, and we are thankful that everybody found us with this location, as we were originally going to be across kitty corner at Lake Wingra Park, which we might hear some music, some live music coming from that direction, and we will deal with it and be louder than they are, perhaps. We'll work with that. I'm Nicole Jar. I'm the Director of Lifelong Learning and co-leading tonight with Cantor Jacob Mamie. Those of you looking for Rabbi Jonathan Beich, he's on vacation. Well-deserved vacation, we should say. If you're joining us online, there are links to our Siddur and our Shabbat program for you to utilize for this service. And our in-person congregation, you should have a blue, a turquoise-ish color Siddur and a Shabbat handout that our Executive Director, Stephanie, can make sure everyone has one of those. We welcome you to tonight's Shabbat service.
A melody to gather us in this space. Yada dai dai dai, yada dai dai dai. Ooh, I'm gonna do that a little bit higher, actually. Let's try here. Yada dai dai dai, yada dai 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 dai.
Shabbat starts here, or any place where people of good intentions bring their best. This we know, that worship is a way to draw closer to God. We share our most personal thoughts with the divine, that worship serves a moral and spiritual compass. Prayers help us, inspire us to be good people. Worship connects us to our Jewish roots. We feel secure as part of a people with values and traditions. Friendship brings us close to services, even in virtual settings. We feel inspired by being with others. Now, we each come to worship having a different experience in our lives during this last week and even in the last 24 hours. We come from many different backgrounds, different ages, different spaces. Prayer helps us renew our souls by connecting with the divine. We are blessed when we join together for services. May our prayers tonight be offered for the sake of unity and community. We are individuals, but we gather tonight as one congregation with a love of one people, one heart, and one God. Page 3.
In the middle of the page, we'll sing that first paragraph, but also we'll be using where you have the two asterisks. Boi hamalka, boi hamalka, boi kala, shalom aleichem, malachei hashalom, boi hamalka. Shalom aleichem, malachei hashalom, boi hamalka, boi hamalka, boi kala. Shalom aleichem, malachei hashalom, boi hamalka, boi kala. Shalom aleichem, malachei hashalom. Hachama merosh, ha'ilano nistalka, bo v'neitzeh likrat Shabbat hamalka. Hine yoredet hakdosha berucha, ve'ima malachim tzva shalom nucha. Boi hamalka, boi kala. Shalom aleichem, malachei hashalom, boi hamalka, boi kala. Shalom aleichem, malachei hashalom, shalom aleichem, malachei hashalom, shalom aleichem, malachei hashalom.
We are on page 4. May the rays of these candles cast their glow upon us and bring the radiance of joy to all who dwell in darkness. May our homes be blessed with the spirit of truth and our dear ones with the light of love. I welcome you to join me. May all our days be filled with happiness and achievement, with peace and contentment, for us and for others, for our families and friends, for all the people of all the world. Our outdoor candlesticks.
Our wind-proof candles. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu v'hadlik ner v'tzivanu Hadlik ner shel Shabbat. Blessed are you who commands us to kindle the lights of Shabbat.
We are on page 6.
No matter what is going on in the world around us, connecting to beauty, finding space for peace, and even maybe for a moment of joy is precious and important. And so we're going to be entering with this moment of entering Shabbat with song and gladness. This is a melody that I wrote that was inspired by the music of the Abba Yudaya community, the Ugandan Jewish community. If you know it, great. If not, we'll have plenty of repetition and we'll get it into our bones. Repeat after me. Your turn. Naria Litzur Ishenu. Naria Litzur Ishenu. Nikat Mafana Bitoda. Nikat Mafana Bitoda. Bizmirot Narialo. Bizmirot Narialo. All together. Naria Litzur Ishenu. Nikat Mafana Bitoda. Bizmirot Narialo. Adonai, Melech Gadol al kol Elohim, Asher biyado mechkerei haaretz v'toafot harim lo. Repeating after me, Ki El Gadol. Ki El Gadol Adonai, your turn. Ki El Gadol Adonai, Melech Gadol al kol Elohim, Melech Gadol al kol Elohim, Asher biyado mechkerei haaretz, Asher biyado mechkerei haaretz. V'toafot harimo, v'toafot harimo. Neranen ad Adonai, Naria Litzur Ishenu. Nikat Mafana Bitoda, Bizmirot Narialo. Neranen ad Adonai, Naria Litzur Ishenu. Nikat Mafana Bitoda, Bizmirot Narialo. Gadol al kol Elohim, Hashem biyado mechkerei haaretz v'toafot harim lo. Asher lo hayam vehu asahu, ve'yabeshet yadav yatzaru. Neranen ad Adonai, Naria Litzur Ishenu. Nikat Mafana Bitoda. Narialo, Neranen ad Adonai, Naria Litzur Ishenu. Nikat Mafana Bitoda, Bizmirot Narialo.
page 8.
Shabbat shalom, Shabbat shalom, Shabbat shalom u'mevorach. Shabbat shalom, Shabbat shalom, Shabbat shalom u'mevorach.
We invite you to rise and turn to page 10 for the Baruch Hu.
Am I awake? Am I prepared? Are you listening to my prayer? Can you hear my voice? Can you understand? Am I awake? Am I prepared? Yada-nai-nai-nai, 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 yada-nai-nai-nai. Baruchu et Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach le'olam va'ed, le'olam va'ed. Yada-nai-nai-nai, 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 yada-nai-nai-nai. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kivod Malchuto Le'olam Va'ed.
Please be seated.
Love Adonai your God with all your heart and with all your soul and with all your might. And these words which I command you on this day shall be in your heart, shall be in your heart. Teach them faithfully unto your children. Speak of them when you sit in your house, when you walk by the way, when you lie down, and when you rise. Bind them for a sign upon your hand, that they may be a symbol between your eyes. Write them on the doorposts of your house, and upon your gates, and upon your gates. faithfully unto your children. Speak of them when you sit in your house, when you walk by the way, when you lie down, and when you rise, and when you rise.
Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai. Who is like you, Eternal One, among the gods that are worshipped? The Mi chamocha prayer thanks God for redeeming us from Egypt, for giving us independence from being a nation who was enslaved to a nation that was freed. However, this work for redemption is never done. We celebrated crossing the Red Sea, but there was still a desert that we had to traverse. On this day, this first day of July, when we start to think of the freedoms that we have in our United States, our work today, our work for freedom and privacy and autonomy and dignity is never done. May we find this 4th of July a time to celebrate what we have and recognize the work yet to be accomplished. Page 13.
All you need to do is repeat after me. Mi chamocha, ba'elim Adonai.
Please be seated. We invite you to have a few moments of personal quiet prayer.
When we come out of quiet prayer, I'll be offering something that you can just listen to, but then we'll be joining together on page 17. Many is the time I've been mistaken, and many times confused. Yes, and I've often felt forsaken, and certainly misused. Oh, but I'm all right. I'm all right. I'm just weary to my bones. Still, you don't expect to be bright and bon vivant so far away from home. So far away from home. I don't know a soul who's not been shattered. I don't have a friend who feels at ease. I don't know a dream that's not been shattered or driven to its knees. Oh, but it's all right. It's all right. We've lived so well, so can't help it, I wonder what went wrong. We come on the ship they call the Mayflower. We come on the ship that sailed the moon. We come in the age's most uncertain hour and sing an American tune. Oh, and it's all right, it's all right, it's all right. You can't be forever blessed. Still, tomorrow's gonna be another working day, and I'm trying to get some rest. That's all, I'm trying to get some rest. Prayer for peace. Always needed. Ose shalom bimroma. Ya'aseh shalom aleinu. Ve'al kol Yisrael. Ve'al kol yoshvei tevel. Ose shalom bimroma. Ya'aseh shalom aleinu. Ve'al kol Yisrael. Ve'al kol yoshvei tevel. Ve'imeru. Amen. Shabbat Shalom, everyone.
Shabbat Shalom.
I know that when we have Shabbat Outdoors, rabbis sometimes will offer a story. I'll say that for my own part, I want to do something a little bit different, given the time that we're in and this particular weekend going into 4th of July. That lyric, we come in the age's most uncertain hour and sing an American tune. Paul Simon wrote that in a song that came out, American Tune is what he titled it, came out in 1973. And no offense to Mr. Simon, but I think when it comes to the age's most uncertain hour, we might have him beat. We are entering this weekend when we'll be observing the anniversary of our nation's independence. And I'm struck in this moment by the uncertainty of our times and how complicated and challenging it might be to connect to ideas of liberty and patriotism, given just what's happening in the world today and in our society. Like Mr. Simon, I don't know a soul who's not been battered. I don't have a friend who feels completely at ease. In our society and the world today, it sometimes feels like trying to find sources of hope and joy is like trying to find water in the wilderness. Possible, but ever so difficult. Speaking of which, it just so happens that scarcity of water and scarcity of hope are major themes in the Torah portion that we're reading this week. For those who might not be aware, there's a difference between Torah reading cycles in Israel and the diaspora that kind of happens between holidays that sometimes take 2 days versus 1 day. So between Shavuot and the end of the book of Numbers, we are a week off, and this congregation follows the reading cycle of the land of Israel. So we are reading from Parashat Chukat, which begins with some discussions about various laws regarding a red heifer, but toward the very beginning and throughout the portion, we come across the deaths of Miriam and Aaron. In the 40th year of the Israelite sojourn in the desert, Miriam dies. Miriam, according to Midrash, carried the well that was the source of water for the Israelites during their journey through the wilderness. And when she died, the people began to complain bitterly about a lack of water. And so God gives Moses and Aaron certain instructions. They're supposed to go to this rock. Some people might know this story, and they're supposed to speak to the rock, and water will come forth that will give people that nourishing, quenching their thirst. But when Moses and Aaron gather everybody, instead of speaking to the rock, Moses hits the rock, strikes it with his staff. And water does indeed come out, but we have this punishment that's offered, or at least it's on the surface seems to be a punishment, that because of this action of not following God's instruction, that neither Moses nor Aaron will be able to enter the promised land. And indeed, during this portion, a little bit later on, Aaron himself also dies. The portion raises questions that have been turned over and over again throughout generations. What was Moses' transgression that was so terrible enough to prevent him from being able to enter the promised land? On the surface, it might seem like a relatively minor deviation from God's instructions, hitting the rock instead of speaking to it. But if you look closer at the words, you might notice some additional details. First, we see that Moses and Aaron respond to the rebellious Israelites with anger. And it's this anger that causes them to hit, or at least it seems like it's anger that causes them to hit rather than speak to the rock. Second, when they speak in their anger, they say, "Shall we get water for you out of this rock?" We, referring to themselves as opposed to acknowledging that it was God who provided the water. So those are some classical reasons that some people will point to as far as what would be necessitate that punishment, for lack of a better term, of them not being able to enter the land. Well, I think we also need to look at some broader context. First, when the Israelites complained about this lack of water and they gathered against Moses and Aaron, this is just like one instance in a long line of contentious moments during their time in the wilderness, ranging from mild kvetching to outright rebellion, which we read about an outright rebellion in Korach last week. Some communities are reading that this week. Also, both Aaron and Moses are in mourning. They are grieving the loss of their sister Miriam, and it was in their moment of grief that they then had to defend themselves against these quarrelsome Israelites. What strikes me about this is how clear it was that Moses and Aaron were dealing not just with a scarcity of water, but also a scarcity of hope and faith, both amongst the people and in themselves. It's this lack of faith then that made it impossible for them to be the ones who could lead the people into the promised land. Reading the portion this way helps us to find that additional layer of compassion for Moses and Aaron, seeing their humanity, but also makes it clear that losing faith, acting out of anger without hope, can still have consequences. We know this can be true for us as well. When the world or our society are in turmoil, when we experience communal or personal tragedies, we may experience grief and anger, and it is important to acknowledge and make space for those feelings, to honor those feelings. However, if we do not also find a way to temper grief and anger with hope and faith, then we, like Moses and Aaron, may also find it impossible to escape the wilderness. That is my hope, that is my prayer for us, that we are able to honor whatever feelings we may be having in this time, but also find hope and faith. Can you hear that song? In a moment like this, yeah, I think that we could use a prayer for our country going into this weekend, into this Shabbat.
And we have one.
And we do have one.
Go.
It is not in our prayer book. I'm going to invite my co-prayer leader, Nicole Jar, our Director of Lifelong Learning, to offer us this prayer that our country, I think, really needs in this moment.
We have an excerpt from Rabbi Ayelet Cohen. It's called A Prayer for Our Country. Our God, God of our ancestors, bless this country and all who dwell within it. Help us to experience the blessings of our lives and circumstances, to be vigilant, compassionate, and brave. Strengthen us when we are afraid. Help us to channel our anger so it motivates us to action. Help us to feel our fear so that we do not become numb. Help us to be generous with others so that we raise each other up. Help us to be humble in our fear, knowing that as vulnerable as we feel, there are those at greater risk, and that is our holy work to stand with them. Help us to taste the sweetness of liberty, to not take for granted the freedoms won in generations past or in recent days, to heal and to nourish our democracy, that it may be like a tree that we planted by the water, whose roots reach down to the stream. It is not fear, we not need fear the drought when it comes, for those leaves are always green.
Can we say,
Amen.
We're going to take a moment now also, as we are offering prayers for the benefit of the community, to offer prayers for healing and wholeness for those individuals in our lives who might need that healing and wholeness, whether it's healing of the body, the mind, or the spirit. So I'm going to offer an opportunity for if anybody has names that you would like to share, either out loud or in your heart. Anybody who you know of who could use some prayers of healing and wholeness. Thank you.
Steve Fisher.
On page 17, we'll offer this prayer of healing and sing our strength to one another and to those we're holding in our hearts. Mi sheberach avoteinu mikor habracha leimotenu. May the source of strength, who blessed the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say Amen. Mi sheberach imotenu mikor habracha lavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say Amen.
We invite you to page 18.
And we rise. This is another one of those moments where all you really need to do is repeat after me.
We can do that.
And take it to heart. Take all of these things as prayers that we have offered into our hearts, so that we can realize that true oneness of God and of all of us. Vahashevota, Vahashevota, Eleva I'm realizing that I'm actually missing a Kaddish list, and so I'm going to grab a program real quick unless somebody has an extra. If you have one that I can use, thank you so much. We now offer prayers of memory for those who are no longer with us. In particular, we call into our minds those who have passed recently, who are connected to our community, and those whose anniversaries of passing, whose yahrzeit we observe on this Shabbat. This week, those who we know of that our community is remembering include the recent passing of Jillian Flory Landweber. And we also are observing the yahrzeit and the anniversaries of passing for Sally Bronstein, Herbert E. Cohn, Roberta Davis, Oscar Dizon, Sandra Tompkin Dutch, Rachel Dutch, Abe Epstein, Stu Farbman, Janet Fishbane, Gustav Uri Gantz, Charles Goldboss, Arthur R. Goldstein, Russell Graff, Helen Grossman, Min Hirsch, Mitch Kravitz, Barbara LaBelle, Jean Lamphere, Bella Levine, Patricia Maloney, Thomas John McDermott Jr., Larry Preisler, Devorah Rabinowitz, Dolly Rubin, Herbert Salkin, Ruth Saltzman, Ben Sherman, Louis Swidarski, Alma Sweet, Morton Wax, Terry White, and Betty B. Zeckman. If there's any other names that you would like to offer in this space of memory, I invite you to share them either out loud or in your heart. Together on page 20, we offer the Mourner's Kaddish. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemech rabah, be'alma di'verach hiruteich yamlich malchuteich, v'chayechon v'yomechon u'chayei dechol beit Yisrael, ba'agala u'vizman kariv v'imru amen. Yehei shemech rabah mevarach le'alam u'almei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, v'yithadar v'yit'aleh v'yithalal shemech tekusha b'richu, le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, da'amiram be'alma v'imru amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom bimromav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'al kol yoshvei tevel ve'imru amen. Onam livracha, may their memories be for a blessing. We say amen. You may be seated. We are missing announcements. I forgot to print out the specific sheet that we had that had some announcements listed, but we do have some announcements of upcoming events on the back of the Shabbat program. So I will hand this back to you so that you can use that.
So if I draw your attention to the back of the program, we have some great things that are happening, including Torah study tomorrow morning led by Steve Craig, which is now hybrid. We welcome you to come in person or be online for Torah study. Our second week doing this, we're very excited for that. Our office is closed on Monday for observance of Independence Day, and there are many other things to engage in, and I will also share for next week with Torah study. It's led by Kendra Sager, and we hope again you can join us in person or online. And Cantor, you have an event coming up also.
So this summer, spread out over a number of days, sometimes Tuesdays, sometimes Thursdays, I am offering a Torah trope, Torah cantillation class. It's not so regular of a schedule because of just the summer and when I'm out of town and building availability and things like that. But if you look at the calendar, you'll be able to see when those specific dates are. We had our first session on Thursday, and we will be having our next session this coming Tuesday. If you have any interest, please let me know, and I'll be happy to get you on our list and make sure that you get access to a recording of the session and materials. There will be some more information too about opportunities for Torah readers and choir related things for the upcoming High Holy Days, information that will be coming out in the next couple of weeks. So keep your ears open for that. Shabbat worship next Friday evening will be at 7:30. Sorry? 7:30, I believe, unless I'm mistaken. Is it wrong? Oh, it's 6 p.m. How about that? So double check the calendar. It seems that I'm mistaken. That we're at least it's listed at 6 p.m. But double check.
Show up at 6 and we'll worship anyway.
Yeah. Or hang out with us for a while if we're mistaken. And
my Bima partner is very humble with all the work that he is doing to bring in a wonderful artist in residence, Galit Dardarshti, who will be joining us the weekend of July 15th and 16th.
Bringing a wonderful background and scholarship in Persian Jewish music, and both secular and liturgical. And we're really looking forward to having her. Hello, friend.
We're soon going to conclude our service, and we want to say, before we do or as we end our service, Shabbat Shalom to all of you who have joined us online. Shabbat Shalom to everyone who's been in person in Harrison. Good thing those are wind-free candles. But may our joined communities online in person, may you have all enjoyed the experience of Shabbat, and your weekend will continue in this way. We invite you to turn to page 23 for Olam Chesed, and then join us in Kiddush and Motzi. 23.
Olam Chesed Yibaneh, Yadadai, 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 Yadadai. 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 I will build this world from love. Yadadai, 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 Yadadai. And you must build this world from love. Yadadai, 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 Yadadai. And if we build this world from love, Yadadai, 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 Yadadai. God will build this world from love. Yadadai, 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 Yadadai. Olam Chesed Yibaneh, 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 Yadadai, Yadadai, Yadadai. We should be on page
24. You may
back on
join-
page 14 for
Nope,
Kiddush and Motzi.
24, friends.
Oh, 24.
24.
My bad. Misprint, typo. All right. Okay. I got it. Thank you.
You grew an arm. Awesome.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, אשר קידשנו במצוותיו ורצבנו, בשבת קודשו באהבה וברצון הנחילנו, זיכרון למעשה בראשית, כי הוא יום תחילה למקראי קודש, זכר ליציאת מצרים. כי בנו בחרת ואותנו קידשת מכל העמים, בשבת קודשך באהבה וברצון הנחלתנו. ברוך אתה אדוני מקדש השבת. And then for whatever meals you may be off to consume, we will offer a blessing. Okay. Just hold together. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, hamotzi lechem min haaretz v'te'avon.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom, everyone.
Yeah, I sort of took yesterday off and today did very little because I started working today.